Did you start? Athish?
Yep. Yes, start. You can go.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, students, prospective parents of students who are going to join MEC, and of course, friends. This is Pavan and Athish. We are both 2019 alumni of MEC. And today we're here to share with you some of our experiences from our life at MEC through this seminar, Future Perspectives. And of course, we're going to talk about the broader theme for today, which is mechanical engineering at MEC. A little bit about myself. I've graduated as a mechanical engineer from MEC in 2019. After that, I joined Columbia University to pursue my master's in management science and engineering. It's been a year that I've started living here in New York, and I must say my life at MEC has prepped me very well for the college experience that I'm having right now. Athish, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Athish. I graduated from MEC in 2019, and I graduated with a BTech in computer science and engineering. Right now, I'm doing my master's at Cornell University, master's in computer science again. And as Pawan rightly mentioned, MEC did prep us in a lot of ways for things to come here in a new country, in a new setting, in a new academic environment here. Let's probably get started and give you a little more perspective about our journeys together at MEC, what we found nice, what we found to be healthy at MEC.
Great. So we're very excited to be doing this seminar today. So just a couple of logistics. We will be speaking for the next 40 minutes. We'd like to go over the talking points that we've taken down on these slideshow. And after that, for the next 20 minutes, we'll be open to questions from the audience. We'd be happy to take any and all questions from you students and parents. And yeah, feel free to ask us anything. Okay, first point, mechanical engineering as a career choice. Why choose mechanical engineering? So one of the first few considerations I made while I was joining MEC and I picked mechanical engineering was that people would always tell me that mechanical engineering has always been an evergreen field. It's existed for a long time and it will continue to exist for decades to come. And that's entirely true because mechanical engineering encompasses principles that are used in day-to-day life. For example, if I'm walking down the road, a regular person would just see a street filled with cars, filled with street bulbs, and filled with all sorts of fixtures, maybe chairs. But as a mechanical engineer, when I'm walking down that same path, all I can see is how there are so many products that were made, how they went from ideation to planning to creation and finally deployment. So this entire process of thinking scientifically is something that has come only after I finished my mechanical engineering at MEC. So these are some day-to-day aspects of how you would be if you're a mechanical engineer. You would learn to see things in a more scientific way. You'd learn to see things in a more engineer perspective, and you'd learn to see things a little more holistically. And as a career choice, it's often a misconception that mechanical engineers just end up as employees at in the manufacturing sector or maybe in the automobile sector. That's really not the case. Mechanical engineering prepares you and your mindset to go beyond just the realm of mechanical engineering in terms of career choices. Take it. I myself am actually getting into management. There are so many other fields like mechatronics, artificial intelligence, robotics. All of these are sort of a broader attachment to mechanical engineering, and all of these are excellent career choices when you're once a graduate. So as students and parents, I urge you to keep an open mind about mechanical engineering and not restrict your thinking to what is popularly known or what is seen in maybe newspapers and daily articles, but look at mechanical engineering as a stepping stone for all sorts of engineering aspects that involve principles of math, physics, and thanks to the curriculum which Atish will be talking about, um, English and humanities and so many other things that we learn here at MEC.
So let's probably move ahead from the idea of what Pawan said, writing on the piggyback what Pawan really said. Mechanical engineering has not just helped people who've taken up mechanical engineering, but more so people who've also not taken up mechanical engineering like me. I am a computer science graduate here at MEC. One thing that you learn here at MEC is that MEC gives a lot of importance to interdisciplinary courses. So I've taken up courses like multiphysics, dynamics, fluid mechanics, and a lot of courses like that. What they did is not just give me a perspective in terms of domain knowledge, but also gave me an opportunity to dive into the maths and the physics behind it. So you might be thinking what math and physics has to play in a computer science life. So here at Cornell, when I'm doing my machine learning courses, my AI courses, there's a lot of math involved. There's a lot of differential calculus, a lot of integral calculus involved, and a lot of matrices, vectors, things that mechanical engineering actually prepped me. So when I stand right now, when I try to solve questions in my class, I do have an edge over other people trying to solve those questions because I've already come across these things while doing mechanical engineering courses, be it solving problems for distributed high-scale machine learning problems, or be it normal artificial intelligence bots that run solutions. A very important thing that was driven from the very beginning is that MEC wants us to get our basics right. So from the very beginning, mathematical courses have been given a lot of importance, as Pawan said rightly, and physics courses. This is probably, we'll delve into this a little later when I specifically talk about the curriculum. But I think I'd like to take this opportunity here to talk about one specific project that Pawan and I did in the last year. Is that right, Pawan? Yeah, last year.
Okay.
Right. So this was a project that we worked with a Japanese company, a Japanese MNC grounding, where we had to help them with their inventory, with their warehouse structuring. It was a problem that we had to solve as computer science, as data engineers. But without the domain knowledge of logistics and supply chain management and industrial engineering, it would not have been possible. Tools like AI, machine learning, data science are all pretty cool. They have a lot of uses, but without a domain to apply, I feel like things are rendered useless. And the domain knowledge is where mechanical engineering actually plays a major and crucial role. And that has how mechanical has helped me as a computer science student, someone who you'd probably consider to be on the opposite spectrum. It really did help me in terms of approaching problems and having the edge over other people in university of this scale here.
Thanks to MEC's curriculum, you got to take mechanical courses in your first and second year, right?
Yes, quite a few courses, if I'm not wrong. About 5 to 6 courses, I think, is what we had.
Role of mechanical engineering in new age technologies, mechatronics, AI, etc. Well, anyone who's reading articles these days, you'll always see new buzzwords coming in on a daily basis, like AI, mechatronics, and so many new technologies that are coming up across the world. We at MEC are always striving to, keep up with what is the new latest technological advancement in the world, latest discovery in the world, and we're always trying to, sort of learn from them, build on that, and hopefully even create something new out of it. One story that comes to mind from my second year at MEC was we took this semester-long project where we worked as a team of 10 students with a mechanical engineering professor, and we built a miniature version of an industrial standard of a machine. So this machine is sold for probably lakhs of rupees in the market. But what we tried to do was build it under 10,000 rupees within the scope of our college education. And I must say that's one of the most exciting things I've done now that I look back from my master's perspective, because I get to talk about such an interesting project, which is on my resume, which is also a part of the biggest learning experiences I've had at MEC, where I worked in a team, where I learned how to work with vendors. I learned how to work with college management, with professors, with other students. So it not only gave me a curriculum education at MEC, it gave me a good example of how it is to be an engineer in the outside world, how it is to use new technology and try to build your own version of it, how to try to build something that's applicable to you, that makes relevant sense to you. And that's exactly what we did. We were able to build this small scale version of a tensile testing machine. And we were very proud when we were able to integrate that machine onto a computer. So now if you ever go to our college campus and see that machine, you can see that you can use the computer next to it to sort of control it and use any small metal samples to figure out its tensile strength. That's one of my proudest achievements while I was at MEC, and this was only in the second year. So that gives you, I think, a good idea of how we're constantly trying to one up on new age technology at MEC, and of course as a mechanical engineer.
Well, the next question is the next organic question, I would say, is why MEC over other colleges? So I think one of the major reasons that I think Pavan and I discussed yesterday, and of course before we joined, was the faculty and the curriculum. So MEC has an all PhD faculty, which is a major driving point for most of us to join the college, not just because of their expertise in the field, but also because of how much research work they have done, research work they have ongoing, and their connections with a lot of professors, faculty members, and industries outside of MEC. And the curriculum, as I spoke about earlier, has a lot of emphasis on basic mathematics and basic physics, which I think is, as now that I understand, probably back when I was doing my engineering, I was like, there's a lot of math and a lot of physics. But now that I look back, it feels like it was the right amount of math and physics that we did, which is giving me a solid base to do a lot of things right now in my master's here. A very peculiar point, I want to say peculiar, a very interesting point about MEC's curriculum is that we have the School of Humanities, which where we, as Pavan rightly said, we have courses like English, we have courses like personality development, we have courses like media. So things like this give you a break from your normal schedule or normal routine of just going through academic coursework and stressful environment, assignments, projects, and whatnot. They give us a chance to look outside of what's happening inside the classroom and probably get a new perspective. So I feel like MEC is not just preparing us to be good engineers, but good humans in a society where we can contribute in measurable manners. And that has been a major plus for us as students who stepped out of MEC. We were the second batch who stepped out of MEC. So we can already see the difference in terms of the curriculum edge, but also in terms of us as normal human beings, as good human beings in a societal setting. Anything you want to add to that, Pawan?
I would say because we have a very good student to faculty ratio, unlike most colleges in India and most colleges abroad where there are too many students for each faculty, MEC actually gives a pretty good opportunity for every student to interact with faculty on a daily basis. You can connect with them on a professional and personal level, get advice, get career advice, get research advice, and at the same time, you get to build on someone's research experience. You can build on their professional experience, and you can learn so much, not only in class, but when you step out as well. So that's something that's very, very interesting about MEC's
that is
faculty.
true. That is true. Because when I talk to my friends here from all across the world, all across India and all across the world, when I tell them that I could just walk up to my professors and have a conversation with them, try to tell them what I want to do, discuss my goals, discuss my future, discuss things outside classroom, it takes them by surprise because that kind of a student-faculty relationship is not something that is seen in a lot of places in India. And the freedom that we have at MEC to just walk up to a professor and tell them that they're interested in their work and you would like to work with them, that is invaluable in my opinion. I think Pawan will take on the internships that we have.
Internships, companies and academic institutions, India and international. Giving a little bit more background about myself, I had two wonderful opportunities thanks to MEC's connections and faculty. In my second year, I got to work as a research intern at a lab in Châtenay-Malabry, France. And in my third year, I got to work at a financial risk analysis firm in the hustling and bustling streets of Paris. So these kind of opportunities don't come on a regular basis if you're a student in India. You have to basically look beyond your college to ever find such an opportunity. But that was not the case for me. All I had to do was I had to connect with teachers in college. I had to connect with the management, and there are so many of these opportunities that were available to us if we were willing to take them. So to summarize, at MEC, internships for both companies and academic institutions, not only abroad but in India as well, are in abundance. But at the same time, it's a more rewarding experience if you put in your heart and soul into it. For all those people who seek, MEC actually gives one of the best opportunities to go find internships. And when I compare my resume with so many of my colleagues here, and since I'm a management student, most of my colleagues are at least 3 or 4 years older than me. The fact that I got these two international experiences, not only personally but also on a resume, it made a big difference when I'm trying to compete with them, when I'm trying to find a job in the future, and of course, whenever I'm trying to have a heart-to-heart or a conversation with them about my experiences. So MEC has given me that opportunity, and it's given that opportunity to a lot of students in my batch as well. That being said, I feel more and more opportunities are coming in on a yearly basis as we're following MEC's agenda, as we're following MEC's strategy. We see that more and more of our juniors are being open to these kind of opportunities. So by the time your kids or you students might join MEC, you might actually have a fully grown institute's full force of internship opportunities. Athish, you want to add about your internships?
Well, I think I'll talk about in my next point, which are the research opportunities that we have at MEC. So I have not technically done an internship in a company in my course at MEC. I've worked on a lot of research opportunities. I think I should start off from the very beginning. It was back in 2016, if I'm not wrong, when I had the chance of working. I'm from Bangalore, so for all those people who don't know me, I'm from Bangalore. And IISc Bangalore is an iconic institution in Bangalore. And to have an opportunity to work at IISc was a very special thing for me. And I got to work with a professor in the Institute of Science, Bangalore, because of a professor that I met at MEC. And things just went uphill from there for me, because once I finished my internship there at IISc, we did substantial work at MEC on that particular project with a couple of my juniors, and we just got really good results. And once we shared the results with a university in Germany, they were like, come on over and help us. So, and that was my first trip abroad. So I had the chance to go to Germany. Although it was the first time I was staying in the country, it was really scary. All that aside, it was one of the best experiences I've had in terms of a cultural exchange, in terms of looking at the work ethics, in terms of the work itself. It was a very interesting experience. I think the following summer is when I had opportunity to go to Singapore, NUS Singapore, to work on a small project. It was a course-based project that I took part in Singapore, and all these opportunities have been possible only because of MEC. But I wouldn't just look outside the country when I look at research opportunities. I would like to also look within and say MEC does have a lot of options and projects that happen inside of the country and in premier institutions inside of the country. At MEC itself, like the work that we do, we are expected to do a course project at the end of a third year and fourth year. And this is something that is unheard of in a lot of colleges, because people are expected just to do a project at the end of the fourth year. Considering the fact that we do projects at the end of the third year and fourth year, we are very much used to the whole getting into a project, working with a team, and things like that, which add interpersonal skills as well. And the projects that I did at MEC were some of the best times I had working with my friends. Some of the best times that we shared working on the project, not just sharing ideas, bouncing ideas off each other, but also fun times like waking up at 3 in the morning, working on a project. I think was it 16 or 17 when we worked on the hovercraft? When was that? You remember?
Oh yeah, it was 17, Atish.
17, right? So I think
Yeah.
so. It was just a bunch of us that got together and we were like, hey, let's just make a hovercraft. And people were like, what? We were like, cool, let's go. Let's probably go talk to a couple of mentors, probably talk to a couple of faculty members who'd be interested. And we spoke to them and they said, hey, no, it's a good idea. We had a wide hovercraft making competition, and this is from a bunch of second years who had no idea of what was going on. It was the passion that drove us, and the teachers were always there to guide us along. And it was a fun project, and we made it work actually. And we had it we presented it in our Technocultural Fest Aether, the first edition of Aether, if I'm not wrong. So fun
We had a
opportunities,
race.
both in terms of yes, we had a race. That's true. We had a race. We
Yeah.
won, by the way. Our team won. So it was a fun experience, both in terms of learning a lot of things, learning a lot of new skills, looking at things from a different perspective, but also enjoying the work, also being a team player, which are skills which play a very important role when you go abroad or anywhere out in the real world.
Yeah, now that we think about it, MEC being
Right.
a relatively newer institute with smaller pool of students, um, a life at MEC, you can actually harness the power of research, not only in our labs but labs across India, labs across the country. So I think it's like a best of both worlds. You get MEC for its curriculum, you get its faculty, you get its amazing work-life balance, and at the same time you get all of these research opportunities that were there from across India in all of these IITs and IISc as well. And that's, I think, one of our most popular answers for why did you choose MEC over an IIT or NIT. I would say it's exactly because of this, because I wouldn't want to go and study at a place where I don't get this many opportunities to build as a person, build as a researcher, and grow as a student. The things done at MEC which help get admits into Ivy League institutions. I think this is a summary of most of the points that we've covered so far. We got an amazing faculty when we were studying. We got an amazing opportunity to go abroad. And all of these things have uh, made a great impact towards our resume. But at the same time, there were smaller things that happened during our course at MEC, which eventually helped us apply to colleges abroad when we wanted to do our masters. Special shout out to our humanities professors who helped us get our writing skills into shape. One of the most underrated skills for an engineer is how can you express yourself? How can you write and tell a story about what you've done on a sheet of paper when you're trying to share this to a very formal sort of setting. So we got that opportunity at MEC where teachers helped us on a day-to-day basis to get our writing in order. And this is a skill that you can't just learn in one day. Over the 4 years that we had, we've learned it through our courses, we've learned it through our projects, and of course, we've learned it through one-on-one interaction with our professors. So that being said, we also got great encouragement from our management. Management is always allowing us to explore our ideas. They're always supporting us with sort of new ventures that we've always looked at. And that's made a huge difference now that I think about it. And it's made a huge impact on my entire profile, which is very, very important for me as a management student, because I'm competing with guys who've had 3 or 4 years of work experience compared to me who just joined masters right after engineering. So MEC preps you for that sort of a life if you want to get outside of your specialization, if you want to build on your specialization and eventually go and explore all your career options out there. Athish, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, so one important thing which I didn't know about, it's something I learned after I got into MEC, was the fact that when you're applying for masters, you need these things called letters of recommendation from professors, and a credible letter of recommendation which goes along with your master's application can take you a long way in terms of getting selected for a particular program or making it through to good colleges across the US. I think that's one thing. So considering how many PhD faculties we have and how these people are people known names in their field, it was a great opportunity to just get LORs from them, and you just have to walk up to them and tell them that I've worked on a course with you, or we've worked on a project together, and I'd like a letter of recommendation. They'd be more than happy to give you one. And that was probably some of the easiest opportunities to get a good letter of recommendations here. Because right now here, when I try to get LORs here in this college, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of it's like filling out paperwork. You have to send them an email, and you have to fill out a couple of forms. Things are very informal between teachers and teachers and students, which not just makes things easier for you, but I think it's the respect that you get from these professors that make you feel like a respected student in an institution, and that aids in both learning and coming out as a whole engineer.
Adding on to that, Atish, I feel the reason it was easy for us to get these recommendations was because we got chances to work with these professors, right? We got to work with them for a year or 2 years, and they actually got to know us in person. So not to be confused with just a handout, but this was actually a real testament of how we've grown as a student and how we've actually built on our professional skills. And that's a little more personable when you're writing a letter of recommendation. And MEC gave us all those opportunities through our 4 years.
All right. How has the transition been from MEC to masters in the US? So nothing really prepares you for a change, right? But MEC did give us some skills that we picked up along the way that makes the transition a little easier. So I'm doing a 1-year master's here at Cornell, which means that I take up 30 credits in 1 year, which is usually done across 2 years in most colleges in the US. So it is super hectic. I take up 6 courses a semester, which is something unheard of usually in other master's programs. So I think for a course that intensive, MEC did really prep me, because I think it was the initial years, the first couple of years, if I'm not wrong, we used to do 25, 23 credits per semester, and it used to be a lot of work. And in spite of all that, we used to find time to hang out with friends, work on side projects, talk to faculty members, do some research. So in that way, I would really say that the work-life balance that I picked up somewhere along the way at MEC, because of the work culture, because of the way people are, the environment in general, that's something that really did help me adapt to situations. Anything you'd like to add to that, Pawan, from your point of view?
I would say my transition was also not an easy one, because I was getting into a newer field. But thanks to all the non-technical courses I had as well at MEC, it sort of prepared me for how masters is in the US, where you have your specialization and you have to satisfy requirements from all other schools beyond your specialization as well. So MEC's idea of you being a complete engineer is exactly how masters is done in most colleges abroad in the US. So that way I had a somewhat similar scenario while I was at MEC and right now while I'm doing my masters. But yeah, I guess that's all I have for this point. But going back into like the broader theme before we move on to the next section of the presentation, I would like to just summarize the fact that MEC has given us so many opportunities in terms of internship, research, and finally jobs for most of my friends and colleagues from my batch. Of course, we are living in a situation, we're living in a scenario where there are so many engineers graduating on a yearly basis in India, and that makes it that much harder for a graduate to go and actually find a job outside, and very specifically even mechanical, which has been a field that's been there for a long time. So you can imagine that it gets harder and harder for you to find a more satisfying job. So MEC has given us that vision. MEC has given us that perspective, so where we can look beyond just traditional jobs that are available to mechanical engineers. That's widened our horizon, and it's made us privy to so many new opportunities that are there beyond the traditional working at a car manufacturer or just some other manufacturing company and like look at all these other things like supply chain, industrial engineering, other sorts of management, project management, and of course, other engineering like electrical, computer science, and so on. So MEC has given us the chance to explore all of these options at a time when we were very skeptical about how the job market was going to be in India. And I'm happy to report that most of my batchmates are doing well as of now. They're all across the world studying. Most of them are at entry-level jobs and are looking forward to great careers in their fields. And some of them are also working in India, working in I think Japan. Atish,
Yes,
couple
Japan.
of our friends are in the
Couple of
yes. So yeah, looking at how the job market is in India, I think that was a reasonably well sort of result that came out for a very young institute like MEC. Although we're very young, I think MEC is actually playing to that strength by being more agile, by being more proactive in reaching out to companies. I remember that we used to have so many industry connect sort of seminars that helped us, sort of understand how the industry is like, and that's very important as a mechanical engineer. And I'm sure all of you know how mechanical engineering is pretty difficult to get a job as a traditional mechanical engineer. So all of these resources at MEC sort of prepped us for that.
I feel like MEC has been a place where help is given when you ask for it. And it's also important that you put in the effort of reaching out to these faculty members, you put in the effort of doing your work, your research before you reach out to them. And that's, I think, the best combination that you could have asked for. Like you put in the effort and getting help from people on the staff. Moving on to a lighter topics, which is life at MEC. Pavan, do you want to get us started off on the infrastructure?
Yeah, of course. One of the favorite things I like to talk about is my life at MEC to most of my juniors and most people from other colleges as well. Well, our infrastructure, being a new institute, is extremely in a short duration of time. We've grown so much as an institute. Right now, we're in full swing. All 4 batches are there, which was not the case when we joined MEC, where we were just the second batch. We have some of the most state-of-the-art classrooms, and I think they're really nice compared to my classrooms here at Columbia. And also we have exciting labs. I think there are more labs being added on to MEC on a yearly basis. And if you join MEC right now, you're going to actually get some of the most latest equipment and fresh equipment, I would say, because not a lot of batches have used it before you. But at the same time, you have the collective experience of so many professors who've done so much research in using labs like these. So you get the best of both worlds. You get latest in tech and sort of an experiential learning from professors. Sports facilities, right? So we've have so many facilities that were added on through our 4 years. We've had a really cool indoor badminton court, a really nice volleyball court right in front of college. I think me and Athish used to play volleyball every day after college on a very religious sort of basis. Like it used to be our thing at MEC. We'd go play volleyball, and that was one of the most interesting stress busters we've ever had. And I don't get to do that right now, so I feel very nostalgic whenever I think about volleyball at MEC. And of course, there's a good basketball court and a swimming pool. So point is, you have all these opportunities to explore different sports, and we have a lot of coaches that have come in, and you can sort of learn something that you haven't learned before, and of course represent MEC at inter-college festivals. Finally, hostel and mess. Oh God, yes. So hostel and mess is probably the biggest differentiator MEC's infrastructure has with respect to most colleges outside, because all I hear from most of my colleagues from other colleges is how bad their food is or how horrible their hostels are. And I never really understood why, because MEC gave me such a great opportunity with really clean hostels that were maintained on a daily basis, and we even had a laundry service,
I was
and
in the
and a
campus
mess.
at a project.
Yeah, and a mess I think was one of the most underrated things that we experienced, because looking at how we used to have such nice biryani on every Sunday.
Yeah,
Oh God, yeah, we miss our
we don't go at 12:30
Sunday
or you
biryani.
so
Yeah, so I think we had a very good sort of holistic experience at MEC as compared to most of my friends I've seen in a lot of IITs, NITs, and BITS colleges across.
So I think moving on to other things that we did as part of our cultural mix at MEC would be the fest and all the events that we had. Aero is our sports fest, and Aether is our intercollegiate techno-cultural fest. Equal Tyohar is our fest within the college; it's an inter-college thing. Central Connect is where we get a bunch of people from academia, from industry to come and have a panel discussion about things pertinent to the world around us in terms of the industry, in terms of the research, in terms of ongoing stuff, state of the art stuff. And TEDx is where we have speakers come from various fields based on a particular theme that we have and give us to talk about that innovative ways of looking at things, solving problems, and a lot of things. I feel like more than what happened during these festivals, during these events, it was the preparation for these events, which is where we spend a lot of time having fun, spend a lot of time being stressed, but it was totally worth it at the end. These are things that stand out in our resumes when we put up things like being a part of a cultural committee, when we made decisions based. These are things that I get asked in interviews, right? So when I go for an interview, they're like, tell me about a time when you worked with a group of people on a problem which you had to solve in a couple of days, time restrictions. So all these things play an important part when you go outside in the world. Probably when you're doing it, it's just all fun. But when you go out, you do understand that it does add value to you as a person, and it adds some character to you in terms of skills that show up when you participate in all these things. We've been on both sides. Actually, we've been a part of the organizing committee, which teaches you things like coordination, as Pawan initially spoke about, talking to vendors, getting the word out, promotion, sponsorship, and all kinds of things which happen in the real world outside. And we've been on the other side of the spectrum where we've just chilled, laid back, and enjoyed these festivals with a bunch of friends. And those are the memories that I still have, and I'm still in touch with all these friends after college. So both sides has its own perks, and I wouldn't trade one for the other. And these are some things which really enrich my experience at MEC. Anything, Pawan, from your end?
Yeah, I would say because we're smaller batch sizes at MEC, we
Mm-hmm.
have way more opportunities to be organizers. We have made way more opportunities to be involved in events like this.
Mm-hmm.
Which now looking back, and when I talk to my peers here at Columbia, they didn't really get these kind of opportunities in their colleges. So, I didn't fully appreciate it well enough when I was at MEC, but now when I think about it, we had so much visibility at MEC in terms of organizing, in terms of participating, and of course, in terms of experiencing these events across. And these events are some of the most fondest memories we've had, sort of like our legacy as well, because we've contributed it to these events during our year of organizing. So it's a legacy that's passed on from batch to batch. So it's all part of, I think, the communal feeling we have at MEC as a Mexter, where you're learning to look after your own juniors, and you're trying to, sort of help them organize as well. So yeah, I would say it's part of our next step culture to be active with these events, to
That's
try
true.
try until we succeed. I mean, most of these events I remember were not 100% successful on the first attempt, but we
Yeah.
tried again and again to make them as successful as we can. And I feel like that's an experience you'll only get at a growing institute like MEC, unlike most fully established institutes.
I feel like in many ways, MEC is like a startup in terms of how we work with things where everybody takes on a lot of responsibilities, right? Like in a startup where one person takes on a bunch of responsibilities. We all did that when we were a part of the institution. And it was a fun experience. I would say, yes, there are perks of being a bigger university, but the joy that you get when organizing festivals and events at a small university, the responsibility that's put on you is something that's unparalleled. I wouldn't trade it. And moving on to student clubs. Well, actually, before that, I think I'd like to add on when Pawan spoke about camaraderie and like the feeling of fraternity that we have at MEC. I think a couple of us alumni have teamed up to help our students in in their current fourth year to with their applications in terms of probably guiding them with what colleges abroad look for, how to tailor your resumes, and how to structure your SOPs and things like that. I think that also is a part of the MEC experience, I would say. And clubs. Pawan, get us started on clubs.
Oh yeah, of course. Some of the most day-to-day experiences of being an MEC student is how you're involving yourself in these student clubs. This is the best way for you to build new relationships with your friends, try to figure out what's happening outside in the world and sort of connect it with your life at MEC. And one of the proudest achievements our batch made was the SAE club. We were able to build a fully functional car from scratch and actually take it to a competition in Pune, drive it there, and exhibit our MEC culture to the rest of India. And that, I must say, as a first year of attempting that, we were able to clear most of the sort of inspections that they had for a car. And we were able to sort of exhibit how we had such superior engineering skills as first timers in an SAE competition. So that I think was an enjoyable experience we've had as students at MEC. And then of course we had our quiz and debate clubs, our personal favorite, mine and Atish's personal favorites. We have so many other clubs, by the way, but we just wanted to talk about these three because we've had so much experience working on these. So the quiz club hosts quizzes on a monthly basis. We have sometimes we have quiz masters coming in from some of the most reputed institutes from across the country and come and test our quizzing skills. And at the same time, debates I think is one of the most underrated, again, one of the most underrated skills to have as an engineer, because you get to not only just do research, but understand how to present it, understand how to respond, how to rebuttal what your opponent is saying, and at the same time be presentable, be proactive. So those are some of the best skills that you can have as an engineer right now. And those are some things we learned completely outside the curriculum thanks to our student clubs.
And that's why we met most of our friends, if I'm not wrong. I think the quiz club is where we met most of our friends, and it was a nice way to getting know people. Okay, the last point is the filmmaking. So we have this a specific, like a separate point. This is the last point for the evening, and it's a specific point that we have because this was one of the best experiences I've had at MEC. In terms of, so we had to shoot a film starting from the ideation phase to shooting it, editing it, sound recording, and the entire process. And the process, I think this is something that made us come in touch with our creative sides. It was very important for us to tap that energy, and MEC really did a good job trying to get us to make some really good films. So when I probably look back now and see all the short films that we made very simple things like how is a biscuit made, how is a chocolate made, and things like that. But things, so the way we shot it, the way we handled situations, a lot of us had to go and reach out to industries, talk to people, face a lot of issues in terms of timings. So it made us a part of an experience which is very non-engineer like, but also adds a lot of value to an engineer in terms of the thinking. And that's, I think, a very that's something that stands out at MEC. We have a design thinking lab. We have a media lab, which is where we spend most of our time at MEC. And if it was any of these fests happening, we would just be at the media lab 24/7, get a coffee from Coffee Day, and just sit in media lab and work. Those are times that I remember we used to work at like 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning in the media lab. So it's a lot of freedom that was given to us, and I think we did make good use of the freedom in terms of making something good out of the whole process that we had. And it was one of the most fun experience. I think these are things that should probably be experienced. I probably wouldn't tell you about why I'm so excited about these things, but only when you experience them will you know the true essence of something like this. And I think with that, we've come to an end of the presentation part of. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
We've come to the We've come to the end of the presentation part of this webinar. We'll open up the room for questions. Pavan, do you have anything else before we open the room questions?
Wrap it up. Yeah. I hope we've been able to give everyone a great idea of an insider's perspective of how it was at MEC and how it is growing at MEC right now. But I think the main takeaway about mechanical engineering at MEC is don't make the same mistake that so many people, so many parents, so many students are making, where you're only looking at it from a traditional standpoint, you're only looking at it from a traditional career standpoint. Look at it a little more holistically. Mechanical engineering prepares you for so many things in life. It prepares your entire mindset to think more logically. It prepares your mindset to think of every single item as a product. Every single item has an entire process that's gone through to actually come to an end product. So if you start observing that there are all these things around you that have so much ideas, so many thoughts that have gone behind making these things, you'll start to understand that mechanical engineering is not just about those traditional things. It's about it's a way of thinking, and MEC has prepared us exactly for that. And in terms of our careers, MEC has done a great job in helping us reach out to industry, helping us interview with so many traditional mechanical companies. And at the same time, it gave us such a broad perspective that we realized all the sort of career opportunities we had that were non-traditional as well. And we've successfully gone to explore these things. Speaking about it from my batch, of course. So that, I think, is probably the best takeaway that we can give you about mechanical engineering at MEC, and I think life at MEC as a whole. I think we can open it to take questions. Athish, you want to take why choose MEC? I think we've
covered. I think we've covered most of the things. Just tell me about your foreign internships.
Okay, what is your idea on mechatronics versus mechanical only? Okay, mechanical only. I think if I didn't clarify this enough in the point, the curriculum at MEC is so interdisciplinary that you get to learn certain electrical concepts, certain computer science concepts, and like basically get a taste of all the branches that are out there. Although there is no major called mechatronics at MEC, we have the opportunity to explore all the things that you would have got to do if you were in mechatronics. For example, when I spoke about my project where we built this small machine that could test the tensile strength of a material, that is a classic example of what a mechatronics engineer would do. It's basically a combination of mechanical engineering and electrical and electronics. So we need to know how we can, sort of integrate all principles of both these fields and sort of build new products, sort of build new things. And that, I feel, we got as an opportunity through this mechanical engineering, and not specifically as mechatronics, but that falls under the purview. So what I'm trying to say is the fact that you have an interdisciplinary curriculum gives you that chance to explore mechatronics as a career as well, even if your major is going to be mechanical.
I have a lot of questions about my GRE score and my TOEFL scores here. I mean, sure. I scored a 322 on my GRE and 118 on my TOEFL, and so I feel like so obviously this is not the best score that you could have gotten, but I feel like the experience that we had at MEC, both in terms of internships and a lot of other activities, were things that made my resume pretty strong as well. Even now, when I apply to companies for internships and jobs, it's not just the scores which matter. They don't appear on my resume, my GRE scores, my TOEFL scores. It's the experience, the projects that we've done here at MEC that really highlight things that I've learned as an engineer at in general.
What future prospects can we
where
expect for engineering management courses? Yeah, so like I said, I'm doing engineering management as my degree in masters, and thanks to courses like industrial engineering, um, operations research, Atish was by
Yes.
Professor TSK as well. Yeah,
Yes.
operations research, and in general management courses like corporate finance and management, economics. All of these courses were, believe it or not, were at MEC as an engineering college. So things like these prepare you for an engineering management course in the future. And the very testament that so many of my peers have also gotten into these courses tells you that you have very good prospects for engineering management future wise. Why you choose to do master, why not job? Atish, do you want to say that or should I?
Go for it.
So masters, why I wanted to go is, so while MEC is doing this amazing job of giving you a great taste of everything, masters is basically how you get deeper into a specialization and sort of guide your way into those kind of jobs that are available in the market. Personally, I wanted to get the experience of living abroad for a year or two. I wanted to get the experience of living on my own, and sort of all sorts of skills that come along with that. That's why I chose to do a master's right away. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to get more ideas and thoughts relating to management and understand a little more in depth about management. And that's why I wanted to get into doing this master specialization. But that being said, I'm sure most of my colleagues would disagree who've taken up jobs. They can also testify that jobs can give a sort of good experience of how to live on your own and all that. But I would say the learning wise, they would have been a little more limited scope when compared to actually doing a master's where you get to explore all these new things that you've never seen before.
In terms of the placements, so when talking about why I chose to masters, I also did sit for the placements at MEC, and I did get a couple of offers in terms of jobs. But I chose to go and do my masters because I felt like, given the strong base that we've built here, I felt like I wanted to improve and specialize on a couple of computer science related topics. And it felt like doing a master's in some of the reputable institutions around the world would be the way to go, now that MEC is giving me the base, a pedestal to stand on when compared to all the other colleges. I felt like it was the right time for me to launch myself into a different kind of an orbit there, and it worked out pretty well, I'll say.
As an ME grad, what are your future plans, Pavan? Okay. So my future plan was always to start my own sort of enterprise. My father is also a businessman, so he has he has always set up this base for me, and all I needed through my education was to understand how to go about doing such a thing, how to start a factory or start an industry, or how to build it from the ground up. And as a mechanical engineer, I got exactly the right kind of experience where I learned about all these sorts of machine design concepts, all sorts of machine integration concepts, and of course how machines work as a whole. So those are things that are probably going to be yeah, and of course my business logic as well through management courses at MEC. So all of these sort of will be carried for the rest of my life, I'd say. I'd yeah, and people say that college is the 4 best years of your life, and I totally agree because I think our life at MEC is probably one of the most memorable 4 years we've had.
Yeah, that's true.
In 23 years. So yeah, that I think should answer what are my future plans. And I think there's another question about when we talk about automobile engineering, do we look more into its design part or the technical aspect? So we all had this design course in the very first year taught by Professor Abhijit. I don't know, Atish, if you remember that, where we have to learn how
Yes,
to
I do.
draw,
I do.
right? Yeah. So
I had it was helpful. I'm not someone whom drawing comes naturally, so it was a struggle. But I mean, with the help of my friends, with the help of professors and the lab assistants, I was able to do well in the course. So
to answer your question, it's a bit of both. You look at both the design and the technical aspect of it. You learn how there are so many thermodynamics, there's so many fluid mechanics, there's so much solid mechanics that goes into building these parts that come in together when you're building a car or building a car part. So you learn, you get a taste of all of these things while you're doing mechanical itself. And of course, you're free to specialize in automobile by taking up sort of electives at MEC that offer thermodynamics in more in depth. And eventually, if you want to go and do masters in, I don't know, Germany or Netherlands, where it's like it's I think it's the mecca of masters for automobile. You have great opportunities to get connections from professors here at MEC, and of course, you get the visibility of having done so many projects at MEC that builds your profile, so you can go to a master's program and specialize in automobile if you feel like you've not learned enough. Atish, this one's for you. Could you explain what helped you to get selected in elite institute like Cornell? How did you start your application and what internships you have done so far?
I mean, I think I've mentioned most of my internships on like a very superficial point of view. But yeah, as in, I think we've covered this kind of thing because it was basically an overall profile which helps you get into good colleges. It's not just a GRE or your GPA, which is of course important, but not the most important point when it comes to applying for colleges because they don't want people to just be bookworms who can just churn out material and write exams. That's not
Yeah.
what they're looking for. They're looking for individuals who present themselves as overall engineers, and that's something that is what you have to probably show them, tell them in an application.
Okay, there's a question about are these internships sponsored? Yes, these internships, at least the ones we've done, were sponsored to a large extent,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
very hard to come by for an undergraduate who doesn't have a lot of experience. That being said, we also had opportunities to apply for scholarships abroad. I personally got the Sharpak scholarship in my second year. It's a scholarship awarded by the French embassy in India for students who are going to France to do research. And I was one of the lucky 20 in the country to get that scholarship. And that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have all the experiences I had at MEC, and of course the support of my professors to get that scholarship. So you have funded internships. You also have opportunities to apply to these scholarships. There's another one for Atish. Atish, can you explain how MEC helped you get into Cornell?
Pretty much the same thing.
How does the collaboration with Ecole help in the development of your skills?
You should be the guy answering this, maybe.
Okay, of course. So first off, our collaboration with Ecole is why I got my second year internship in the first place, where I got to go work at Ecole Central, or now called Central Supelec. I got to go work there for a total of 2.5 months. Though that I think is one of the opportunities that laid a foundation to get more opportunities to go abroad. That being said, while I was at MEC, the collaboration with Ecole Central gave us a much more a different perspective of how an engineering curriculum should look like. So most engineering curriculums are only teaching you like basic mathematics until I think your second year or second year, right? I think mostly. At
Yeah,
least,
second. Yeah.
yeah. So you don't learn math beyond that. But us at MEC, we had mathematics every semester.
I remember.
I cannot iterate how important that was for me. Right now, when I'm competing with all these students from across the world, students from China who are extremely good at math, and also students from France who have literally been born and brought up in the idea of math. So the fact that I got 8 semesters worth of mathematics at MEC has
Mhm.
really prepared me well for all these sort of skills that I needed to compete here. And at the same time, the French, I think, connection has given us exchange programs. We've got chances to.
This is what I'd like to add about my last semester at MEC. And in my last semester at MEC, I had the opportunity to go and do my last semester at the University of Florida. And thanks to our director, Dr. Yaj Madhuri, it was a fun experience. It was something that really did help me get into the whole US education, the whole understanding how the nuts and the grooves, how it works, and that is something that you can take leverage of when you come to MEC. And I'm sure, in the last conversation that I had with Dr. Yaj Maduri, he said they are building upon more connections and they're signing more MOUs to get more colleges involved to make it something that transcends like country boundaries and across the world, be it Europe, be it America. And that I think is one of the major points that helped me at MEC.
So we're getting a lot of questions about GRE and TOEFL, IELTS. I think so. One really good way to give a better perspective of this is sure we can. I mean, Atish has told you his score, and my score is also very similar to him. I got a 325 and 109, I guess. So the point is, these scores are not 100% the criteria that master's applications are even looking for. Yes, they are to some extent what helps your application clear the minimum cut, but it's not what's going to make you competitive with the rest of the environment. There are people who will, there are thousands and lakhs of people who have the same score as you, but you're going to compete with them basically by your experiences with your resume and with how you're able to write. And like we spoke about for I think at length in our presentation, the fact that we had these experiences gave us that competitive edge when we were applying. Um, but GRE score and TOEFL IELTS is definitely just a disqualification factor for most college applications rather than a competitive factor. So I wouldn't stress too much about these scores if I were you.
Yeah, Pawan, a good question. Yeah, what about the gender bias in mechanical engineering? You want to address that?
Well, personally, it's I think it's a very outdated sort of view
That is
into mechanical engineering. It should be open to all, and it is at MEC we have a very good sort of environment for both genders to take it up. But at the same time, I think it's been a cultural thing and in India for a long time where mechanical is not a favorable thing for most girls. But when I see that other students from various other countries like France or Germany or China for that matter,
in
all of
America.
I mean there's no such thing. So definitely it goes back to I think our culture as it's just been popularly made to believe that mechanical is a much more sort of um, uh, um, skewed towards a man than a woman, but that's truly not the case. There's so many opportunities for both genders. It's just we just have to open our mindset and try to go beyond traditional ways of looking at mechanical, and I think we can overcome that um, as Indians and as MEC students.
I mean, other than a couple of logistic questions about the admissions, I don't see anything that. Nope. Do you see anything that needs addressing?
Did you find yourself superior to other guys who came out from other colleges with you in the same year? Um, so, I think I can talk from a little bit of personal experience that I chose MEC over NIT Surathkal for mechanical, and also I think all these other colleges like VIT and SRM and all that. I chose to go to MEC looking at its curriculum and faculty. And when we graduated, I think even Athish can testify that we really saw a huge difference with how we're looking at things, with how so much more confidence has been built in with us because of the fact that we just got so many opportunities as a smaller community. That confidence was key for us when we had to either look for jobs or we had to apply to masters abroad. And I think it's something that's going to live with us throughout, right? The fact that we're so proud of our skills, that we're very expressive, we're open about talking about it, and of course conduct webinars like this. I don't see a lot of institutions that have alumni come back and do this.
I mean, there's a question about my internships and how I approach my internships and things like that. So specifically things like my ISc internship and things like that. So I just reached out to a professor, Professor Nagaya, who was part of MEC, and I expressed my desire to work on a particular project that he was interested in. So first couple of years, first couple of months, he asked me to study, and then there were classes where he would coach me about sessions after class where he coached me about specific skills that were required for the project. And after that, once we knew that we were on good footing, we started out the project. And a faculty at IISc was also doing the same project, was a part of the group. So this was a group that was working with a research institution in Germany. So they were all part of the same research group. So this faculty was back at IISc, and I remember telling the professor that I really wanted to work at IISc, and he said, "Cool, we'll make it happen." So then I reached out to the professor and I told him that I'd be interested in working in this lab for the summer. And he graciously agreed, and he said, "Sure, would like to work on a couple of things." So I went there and we worked. We started out building our prototype for that particular project, and that's how I started work. That's how I got the opportunity to work at IISc Bangalore. Hope that answers
Okay.
a couple of questions about that.
I think one thing we can definitely address is what are your views on the negative reviews on Quora about MEC? Are they true? Absolutely not. My
I
God.
mean, a lot of things. So I think it's important to take a lot of things you read on the internet with a pinch of salt, um, which is true in general and not just for things about the college. So I think it's better. So I'm sure you probably heard about a lot of things that we spoke about, but I'd encourage you to probably reach out to other faculty members, other students at MEC, and get their opinion, because a first-hand opinion is much better. An informed first-hand opinion is much better than an uninformed anonymous answer somewhere on the internet. So make sure you take things that you see on the internet with a pinch of salt and reach out to reliable sources. And that's when you get the most reliable information. So
In management, we say the more people want to try to take you down, that more it means that you're doing something right. And I think the fact that there's so many people trying to post all of these negative things about us, but it just makes us come out stronger, and we want to prove them wrong at the end of the day.
doesn't mean that we have not had our weaker times, but I think as MEC, as students of MEC, as management, we've always come together and solve those issues and make sure that we don't repeat mistakes, and we try to develop and we try to build upon what we've already learned and seen around us.
What are some of the technical skills that mechanical engineer must acquire by the time he or she gets graduated? So something specific to mechanical would be basic concepts in math and physics. You would be surprised to see how graduates from other colleges are very weak in their basic in math. That is something you definitely need to work on during your undergrad, because you won't get that opportunity to do that later on. So focusing on your basics in math and physics, and then whatever you want to specialize within mechanical, if you want to get into automobile or get into research, R&D, maybe get into fluids, or sort of shift into a little bit of management into supply chain and industrial engineering. All of these things, the common denominator is usually logical thinking, mathematics, and physics. That being said, for any engineer out there, for any engineering graduate out there, I think the best skill to have to compete with other engineers, to be a better engineer, is how well you can sort of communicate. Your communication skills are core to how you are as an engineer in the outside world. And I feel like if you can focus on those during your undergraduate level, you're going to be much more of a valued engineer in the society once you graduate.
A lot of questions about the BTech in AI is something I see, and there has been a seminar. There's been a webinar about that already. I'd request you to go look for it on YouTube and get your questions answered there. I was not, I did not take up BTech in AI at MEC, but I did take up the AI course that was offered to us. I think Pavan also did take up the AI course.
Yeah.
I think if I'm not wrong, Pavan took up the course that came after that also, which is the deep learning course, for which
Deep
I wasn't here
course.
for.
Yeah.
So I think the AI course. So right now at Cornell, I'm doing a lot of machine learning courses, and I feel like the AI course that we did at MEC gave us a broad picture about a lot of things. Which now that I think about it, the breadth at which we covered the topics was pretty good. We covered a lot of things. We touched upon a lot of things that is just important to know in terms of things that are happening around us in the world of machine learning, in the world of data science, and that's something that I've really enjoyed. And Professor Arya, who took up the course, we've worked with him on a project. We've interacted with him outside of classroom. He's one of the best faculty members I've worked with or like had classes with at MEC.
There's a question saying, is there any disadvantages of joining MEC? So I think one of the disadvantages we felt we had as MEC students when we were studying was probably the fact that we didn't have an alumni network the moment we were looking for jobs or internships, because alumni play a key role in helping you connect with the rest of the world. That being said, I think MEC has already graduated. Athish, did I lose you?
No, 1 second.
Okay. And now we already have 3 batches that have graduated. So that's already a substantial amount of alumni network out there in the rest of the world. And that being said, me and Athish were also personally involved in this, where we created an alumni network of Ecole Central students that are living in India. So this was done as a part of our day-to-day at MEC, where we created this sort of social media groups, and then it eventually led on to become sort of events that we started having at MEC, where we got in alumni coming in from all Ecole Central institutions in India. Sorry, all Ecole Central institutions who are currently living in India. And these guys are very enthusiastic about interacting with MEC graduates, MEC students, and so on. And of course, right now, me and Athish are also working on helping our third-year juniors work on their college applications as well. So as a part of our Alumni Connect program, we're reaching out to people who need help with their applications and helping them guide their way and navigate their way to end up in good colleges for master's degrees as well.
I think we're running out of time, so we'll take one last question, which I think we've already answered, but I'll probably emphasize. So there's a question that says, I want to know how they rate MEC in comparison to NIT or IIIT and things like that. So one thing that works for those institutions is the reputation that people have built for them or they have built for themselves over the years. That's something that MEC definitely lacks. There's no two ways about it. But what we make up for is the effort that we have in terms of creating an overall engineer. And we've had friends, I'm sure Pavan also can testify. We have had friends here outside, like at Cornell or at Columbia. We have friends who come from IITs and NITs, and I've spoken to my other friends in the US as well. And when we compare ourselves to them in terms of technical knowledge, we do stand an edge, again, going back to the basics, which is probably the most important thing when you're learning a new skill. It's always easy to pick up new skills if your basics are strong. You could have done fancy projects, you could have worked at fancy places before, and that definitely helps you. But when you're picking up a new skill, when you probably start working, when you're trying to pick up a new skill, when you come into a master's, when you're trying to learn a new subject, it's the basics that get you into the groove. That basics is what help you understand better. And that's something that we've always lived by, and that's something that's always helped us in terms of how we look at things. And
IITs might be established, but I feel being with a growing institute is much more valuable in terms of your learning, in terms of your gain, because management and teachers at MEC are always trying to help students, because that's how our college is going to grow. Because as students, as alumni, are how college is going to eventually become as big, or if not bigger than all the IITs in the country right now. So to eventually reach that point, we are putting in all sorts of efforts from our end, and I think even the students are very motivated at MEC right now to try doing new things, try looking beyond traditional engineering, and also try to invent sort of new technologies. So that's I think what is the core value of MEC, that we're a growing institute, and unlike big institutions that are already established, we're much more agile, we're much more student friendly, we're much more focused towards the growth of a student, and that I think is probably the best value that MEC can offer to you.
there's one point I'd like to add. There's a question about what about French? Oui, je parle un peu le français. We learned good French. We've learned some French. Pawan's been to France. He's probably spoken a bit of French that we learned. It's not French. It's not conversational French. But if I read stuff, I will be able to understand. Right. So that's the level of French that we've learned. He's done a second level certification. I've done a first level certification in French, and I think we can make do with that.
Yeah, I think you need to learn French compulsory for the first 2 years at MEC, and then the third and fourth year you get to take it as an elective. And it's definitely fun learning a new language in a engineering environment. It's very uncommon these days, but learning a new language always sort of helps.
Right. So we are from the second batch that graduated, not the first batch that graduated. Just to clear that out. And I think with that we shall end the questions from our end. Thank you all for joining, and I think the video is being recorded and will be posted somewhere. I think YouTube for future reference. And it's been great talking to you all. Thank you so much for your questions. Hope to catch you all some other time in some other session.
Yeah, we hope we got the right message across about mechanical engineering at MEC. We strongly urge you to consider how versatile this course is and how beautifully it's been designed, keeping the student and keeping the industry in mind. So if you get the chance, do visit the MEC campus. Go check out our lush green sort of environment out there, which is again a very beautiful find. It's a treasure really. And of course, go check out our labs, our campus classrooms, and go speak to some of our professors. I think you'll get the best idea of what's hustling and bustling at MEC.
Also, given the situation right now, maintain social distancing, wear masks, be safe. It's a tough time, so stay safe, and I think that's about it from the both of us. Thank you so much for joining, and bye-bye.
Have a great rest of the evening. Bye.
Bye.